The Shift is brought to you by SE Healthcare. Welcome to The Shift. I'm Dr. Andrea Coyle. Shifties, welcome back to the next episode of the Shift podcast. Today, we are going to have a little bit of a different episode. It might be a little longer than what you're used to, but I can assure you that there's a lot of powerful messages. And myself and my incredible guest, Christina Gamez, we're both going to be vulnerable. So just enjoy the discussion. We're so grateful that you're listening to this. Christina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I'm so happy to be here with you and with your amazing audience.
Thank you. Before we get started, I just want to share with the Shifties how we met. It was a couple years ago in Philadelphia, and Penn Medicine had a leadership retreat, and I was invited to be a speaker. And I spoke about the power of gratitude and how burnout can contribute to ucky feelings. And somehow Christina and I met or just chit-chatted after the presentation, and truly we have made a meaningful connection and have stayed in touch, and both decided we thought this medium would be a great way to tell a story of Christina's shifts. And then Christina's going to ask me a little bit about some of my shifts. Christina, get started. Tell us a little bit about you, your story, and then we'll just keep going.
Thank you so much. Yes, I think, gosh, when I learned that you were doing this Shift podcast, it just resonated so much with me because as a nurse, there are so many shifts during our nursing career. I've been a nurse for over 20 years. And I really wanted to share some of my personal shifts in my nursing career. And when I got started in nursing, I was in the Navy. I was a United States Hospital Corpsman and in the reserves, actually. And while I was working in the reserves, I was a tech in a local ER in Washington, D.C. And I was going to school to get my nursing degree. And as soon as I became a nurse in the civilian world, I got my commission and became a United States Naval Officer in the Nurse Corps. And I just loved the emergency department. I loved that atmosphere so much. I actually joined the Navy after 9/11. I was very motivated to help um, on a greater scale and help when there was disaster. It really gave me energy. I really liked being in that situation. So I was in the ER. I did trauma nursing. I was deployed for the war, and I just felt like that was going to be my career. And when my I became pregnant with my second child, and when I went for our 20-week ultrasound, he was diagnosed with a heart condition that was not compatible with life. So, at 20 weeks into my pregnancy, my whole world flipped upside down, and the rest of my pregnancy was very difficult. Lots of appointments. The doctors shared really devastating news that they didn't think that my baby would live much past birth. And during my pregnancy, I worked. I was picking up shifts in the ER, and I was still doing my Navy requirements. And many things happened during during that time. But after my child was born, he actually was so healthy. He was a full size. He was 21 inches, 7 pounds, 2 ounces, and his lungs were strong, and his heart was wasn't fully formed. And so we went home on hospice, and he did so well for 3 months. We were actually discharged from hospice, and And after about 4.5 months, we had a cardiac surgery, and he passed away shortly thereafter from surgical complications. So he was 5 months and 13 days um, when he passed away, and I had a 21-month-old at home, and it was just devastating. It was it's very hard to describe that kind of experience in life. Um, but the only thing I knew how to do, the only thing that I felt like I could do was go back to work to just make it look like everything was fine and just keep going because you wake up every day and the world keeps turning and people keep doing the same things that they do every day. And even though you want the world to stop, it just doesn't. And so I went back to work and I kept going. And and one day I was working in the ER and I realized, uh-oh, I uh I don't think that I can take care of this particular patient. This woman was coming in miscarrying, and I remember thinking in my head, "Oh gosh, I don't think I can do this." It was like I lost my empathy,
Mhm.
and and it was a trigger for me as well. And it was so shocking to me to sit there in my shift and have this realization, oh no, what am I going to do if I'm not an ER nurse? Um, and so, uh, and so luckily I had a very supportive team around me, my nursing colleagues, my friends, my family, everybody very, very supportive. My Navy colleagues. Luckily, um, I had gotten my advanced degree in the Navy. I had other opportunities to fall on, and I was able to switch careers and become an informatics specialist. I went into actually IS education, went into the technology world.
I forgot about that. You had mentioned that. I forgot about that part of your career.
Yeah, yeah. So, one of my dear Navy colleagues was a director of informatics at a local hospital, and what I did for the military, she appreciated so much and wanted me to do that at that hospital where she worked at. So, I was able to shift into a completely different career and pull away from the bedside at that time. But while all this was going on, I was just not addressing my grief. I just kept going, kept taking care of my baby at home, and really didn't acknowledge uh, what had happened. And over time, I started getting physical symptoms. I started getting chest palpitations, and I started having panic attacks. I wasn't able to sleep. So I started seeing specialists. I saw a cardiologist and started on medication, and it was just kind of a snowball effect for many years. Physical symptoms, I would go to the doctor would say I was fine. They couldn't find a reason for my physical symptoms, and so there was medications and side effects and different medications and different tests, and it was just all so frustrating. And one day I just got so sick of it. I was just not sleeping and I was just riddled with anger. Really, I was just so angry and I realized I didn't want to be an angry person. Um, and so one of my therapists at one point recommended an imaginary box, which I often tell people about to this day because it was so beneficial for me. Just sitting in a quiet space, in a safe place that I chose for a designated time that I chose, set my alarm, and just sit there and basically just breathe and feel how my body is feeling and what kind of emotions come up. opening the imaginary box is like opening a bag of emotions that you don't want to address because they're so uncomfortable. And so I just found that so therapeutic to sit there, and every day was different. I would do it every single day for a long, long time. I actually still do that in some form to this day. But setting my timer, crying if I needed to cry, being angry if I needed to be angry, sleeping if I needed to sleep, pacing, drawing, scribbling, journaling, whatever I needed to do in those 5 minutes really gave me back control of my emotions over time. I noticed I was able to sleep better. That was the first thing
Mhm.
that changed um, for me. So I was able to sleep better without waking up in the middle of the night in a panic. I was able to control my emotions when people would interact with me. Sometimes just an innocent hello or an innocent greeting, I would just get so mad because I was really hurting inside and just not addressing that. So I share that story because we go through tremendous life experiences, and it's not a competition. Everybody has their own experience, and my experience might seem um, more significant to someone than to someone else, and it doesn't really matter what the experience is. It just matters that we're having these experiences, and sometimes it's secondhand trauma from the patients that we take care of. They're so
Yep.
sick and the stories are so sad. And we find that in nursing, well, it's just my job. I signed up for this, so I should be able to handle it. And really, we didn't sign up for the heaviness. We didn't sign up for the emotional and physical turmoil that it plays um, on our bodies and minds over time. Um, what we signed up for is to care for people, and how often we forget to care for ourselves first.
So I have a question, Christina. First,
Mhm.
I have two questions, and thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for being vulnerable. Um, During your pregnancy and even those 5 months and 13 days, 5 months and 13
Mhm.
days, and this is where my head went. Was it hope? Like, did there's two kinds of hope, and was it reactive hope or was it possibility hope that kept you, as you said, you just keep on going?
Yeah.
Was it hope? And the reason why I asked that question is, I do a lot of speaking, and one thing that leaders and nurses are really good at is giving people hope.
Hmm.
And so, do you think a lot of that time in your life was driven by hope?
Yeah. Hope is everything. You always are looking for a little glimmer.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to be something big. Just
Mm-hmm.
just some little glimmer of light that brings peace and brings a readjustment to the present moment. That's everything. My my hope during that time was my son, to see him, to play with him. He had no idea. He was, such a happy little boy full of life. And and I went to bed every single night crying, knowing that I was going to lose this child, that it was inevitable. And so the little glimmer of hope for me was my son and the relationship that I had with my husband. I was very, very fortunate that he was so supportive. I know in times like this. It can be very straining on a
Mm,
marriage. He relied on me heavily for the medical decisions and supported my thoughts and my suggestions on what we should do. So that was very, very helpful. Um, and I had so many supportive friends, but the reality really was that there wasn't anything that anyone could say or do to make it better.
right. Yep.
And so that is a huge realization, and something I like to speak about often is in most cases in life, extreme cases where it's heavy, it's hard, we're dealing with loss of life, we're dealing with um, very sad situations, there just isn't the right words. And you don't have to have them, and you don't even need to speak them. It's just a matter of being present in the moment. That is the gift.
Mm.
Just to have somebody come and just sit and not say anything or just cry with you is a gift.
I agree with that. And I like to call that the gift of time because when I give you time to authentically listen, that is a gift. And when you give yourself those 5 minutes that you spoke about with the box, that's a gift to yourself. Do you feel like once you were able to accept the fact that you recognized that you were angry, then you were finally able to change or shift? I used to always use the word shift because the
Yeah.
shift podcast, but do you feel like sometimes once you accept something, no matter what it is, then you're able to shift or change?
100%. And the biggest part about that was acknowledging, oh, I am feeling anger.
Hmm. Yep.
And so let me let that out. Let me release the steam valve and let that out. And as I would pay attention to that feeling and just allow myself to be angry in my own designated safe place, then I found another emotion. And then I found another emotion. And it was like peeling back the layers of the onion.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. But beyond that anger, I'm resentful. I'm resentful to this situation, to this person, to this event that happened. And let me just sit with that emotion and not put fuel on the fire, but just allow myself to feel that emotion. And then while I was noticing that in the moment and really paying attention to that emotion, giving myself the gift of presence.
Hmm.
Okay, now there's another emotion, sadness. Okay, eventually over time, the emotion was actually love
Mm.
over a lot of time and a lot of peeling.
Hmm.
And it's the presence, the paying attention in a compassionate space. I really found why is this so um why is this changing me? How is this working for me? I started getting very curious. Why is it that I'm sitting here and now I'm noticing, you know what? I want to exercise different. I want to take care of myself different outside of this moment. I used to be um, a hardcore boot camp kind of hit workout kind of a person where I would need to sweat for a full hour unless and otherwise I wouldn't feel like I exercised. It was really like hard. I was really stressing my body and in sitting with myself, the imaginary box, in these moments, processing my emotions, it so much insight came to me. How I took care of my body, different things that I ate, my work environment, how I interacted with people. There was so much of a butterfly effect when I did this. And then when I started doing research, really the evidence behind mindfulness-based interventions is significant. And that's what I was doing for myself every day for all those times. Um, and and really taking back control of my life.
Now, that's so well said. And I like what you said earlier that everybody truly has an event or more than one event.
Mhm.
And to really, first of all, again, I say you have to accept it. You have to accept that it's okay that you're going to be angry. And I love that you said resentful,
Yeah.
because, but resentful is one of those emotions that you don't want to hold on for too long because, man, that can suffocate you,
Oh,
literally. It's a heavy, heavy emotion. It's one of those negative emotions. And I just think the power of being able to shift your mindset is it's the power of perseverance. It's the power of hope. It's the power that everything's going to be okay.
yes,
But you have
exactly.
to realize that you can't have someone else say, "Oh, you're going to be okay," because people don't want to hear you're going to be okay.
That's false hope. That's
That is false hope. And it feels good when someone just authentically listens and sometimes absolutely says nothing.
mhm.
And people get awkward with that silence, but that silence is okay.
And as nurses, I think it's really important for us to practice that empathetic silence, that authentic presence where I'm not thinking of what's going on in my life so that I can figure out what to say next. I'm truly just listening, being present with even just the silence. And we have to practice that. We talk about that, we know this, but we really have to practice this authentic presence and practice the pause that we talk about so much. And mhm.
Christina, I'm listening, and I guess maybe I'm not such a great listener because I'm thinking I'm thinking about stuff. But I'm thinking as nurses,
Yeah.
let's just say you're an ICU nurse and you have two patients, or you're a med surg nurse and you have five patients.
Mhm.
It's so challenging, and it takes a skill set and it takes a mindset to be able to authentically listen to your patient in bed space five,
Yeah.
Mr. Smith in bed space five, and be 100% present with them, knowing that your patient, Mr. Jones, across the hall is XYZ.
Yeah.
How do you stay in that moment? And it is very difficult. And I think it's really, really more challenging for new to practice nurses.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I could see how that can contribute to anxiety. You can't sleep at night, burnout. It just contributes to a lot of things.
100%. I remember leaving my shifts. You're constantly replaying
Yeah.
shift. What could
Mm.
you have done differently? How did that go? How did the conversation go? Um, Constantly. And I know the feeling and it's just what we inherently do because as a nursing profession, we just want to do the best for the most amount of people.
Uh,
And so of course it's natural. But practicing those skills with each other, practicing um, redirecting, a lot of our patients go on and on and on and
mm.
we just don't have the time and that's okay. You can't have hours and hours on end with each patient. And that's a blessing and a curse. But redirecting, practicing that empathetic listening and then also the empathetic communication. I hear what you're saying, and I understand that you're sad in this moment. And I want to be here for you, and I want to hear your story. But my patient in this other room is calling. I'm going to go do that, and I'm going to be back in this amount of time. And then we can talk more about X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is. And the way you get more patience in those situations is truly by practicing patience with yourself,
I
practicing
agree with that.
with your family, and practicing as often as you can, but first, always with yourself so that you have the energy for other people.
And I have found this is going way back in the day when I was a med surg nurse. So we're going back like 25 years. Um, a very smart mentor of mine said, when you have five patients and you really practice that empathetic listening, I hear you and acknowledging what they're saying and validating what they're saying. And I have another patient that I need to draw blood on. I'm just saying,
Hmm.
how about Mr. Smith, if you write down what you're thinking? So
Hmm.
then you give them something to do.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
thought that was brilliant. And I used that multiple times. And some people bought into it. And as you know, some people didn't. But it was a way to again help the patient recognize that it is healthy to write down some of your thoughts too.
Yes, I love that. I've used that before too. That's such a great technique to use with patients, for sure.
100%.
Yes, and so I'm just gonna wrap up. I know I've been talking a lot, and I just wanted to say how important it is, um, in nursing and in your own life to notice when your mind is shifting, when your body is shifting, when your beliefs and philosophies and even your personality traits are shifting, to notice that, because it's okay in nursing to move to something else. There's so many options in our field. We are so blessed, so lucky to have so many options. There are so many places to go, and I know sometimes it's hard to leave work, family, or adjust to things, because things at some point were fantastic. You loved it. But to give yourself permission to be allowed to shift. We're human beings. We're supposed to change. We're supposed to grow and evolve. And so with that said, I know that you have shifted so many times in your career, Andrea, and you've had so many experiences, and I'm wondering if you would share something with your audience on your experience of shifting through life and through your career as well.
Oh, wow. Well, I have a lot of shifts to your point because I've been a nurse for 31 years. I'll be 32 years next year.
Wow.
And I had a huge shift in the last 3 years, I would say. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in November of 2022, which was shocking because there's not breast cancer in my family. And I chose my treatment plan and all is well, and I'm cancer free. So I'm grateful for that. And that was kind of the beginning of this big kind of unraveling, if you will, of my life. And not to, tell everybody my entire story, but um, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and then got separated from my husband of 22 years. And we talk about hope. My husband was suffering from mental illness, and some of it was in the form of addiction. And when we talk about hope, you just you hold on to hope that someone's going to change or shift. I'll call it shift, that someone's going
Mhm.
to shift.
Yeah.
And you hold on to that hope for a long time until you can no longer hold on to hope. And I
Mm.
had to let go of that hope that he was ever going to be sober.
Hmm.
And And it was very difficult. And it was a very difficult separation, divorce, and very difficult. Um, we were divorced, and 12 weeks later, he passed away. So it was difficult, but everything you said is exactly how, you just keep going through it. Like I'm still working, but I know that he's unstable and I have two children and they're being a part of some of the things that he's doing that aren't the best and the safest and the smartest and great decisions. And you just kind of keep going. But now, a year after his passing, um, some of the things you said are true. That you start to recognize things that kind of take your breath away or give you heart palpitations or keep you up at night. And you
Mhm.
go through this process where I've learned that I have to accept that that was his journey, not mine. That was his journey. I have to
Mhm.
accept it. I have to accept that there was resentment, tremendous resentment. When you're dealing with someone who has an addiction problem, there's a lot of resentment, anger, but tremendous sadness, really. And then you accept it. And you have to accept that either A, you're going to keep going, or B, you're going to crumble. And I'm not going to crumble. I take all those lessons and I have mediums like this and meet great people like you. And for me, what's incredibly helpful is to tell my story. And I don't have time to tell the story right now, but telling the story and how my children, specifically my son, has persevered is like it is uplifting and powerful. And my son has this great quote, and he's 21, he'll be 22 in 15 days. He's so brilliant. Mom, difficult doesn't last forever.
Mm. Wow.
Difficult does not last forever. And he always talks about a shift. And he goes to the Citadel Military College, and he is battalion commander his senior year. It's the top 11 ranks of his senior class. But when all this happened, he was a junior, and so he was first sergeant. And he said, there were times, Mom, I couldn't sleep at night, but I knew that I have to shift my mindset to get out of bed and lead my team because my team depended on me just as much as I depended on them. And I think those are really powerful things from a 21-year-old.
That is so insightful. And you're so strong, Andrea, for sharing. Thank you for sharing that story with us. I think it, just like you said, there's so much power in storytelling. And
Mhm.
we walk around and we meet people every day and we have no idea what they're going through, what they have gone through, and how much more of a connection can you make by just listening, by allowing someone to share, and by being authentic yourself, opening up that kind of honest communication. It shares with somebody else that they're safe to tell you their story.
Mhm.
And so you can empower each other and find strength in community, in union. And um, it's not about venting. It's not negativity on top of negativity. It's authentically sharing how you're feeling and being present for it. It's so healing.
Thank you for saying that. And I cannot tell you how many times I've, spoke and told my story in different mediums all across the country. And people always 100% after I speak, at least one person always comes up to me and says, thank you so much for sharing your story. Just so you know, my husband right now is an alcoholic and I'm still with him, but thank you for being brave. Or thank you for sharing that story. That made me think of things differently. It's through those storytelling that we create these connections that are meaningful. And sometimes they give someone strength.
100%. I hear that all the time. Thank you for sharing. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that.
Yes.
Or, oh my gosh, a very similar story happened to me and I'm still struggling. I still don't know what to do.
Mhm. And
Um,
and in telling our stories, Christina, if we can help touch one person, we've we've made a difference in someone's life. And that is where I get my strength to continue to do the great work that we do as nurses.
yes, there's the hope. There it is.
There,
And
there's the hope.
it's okay to not be okay.
Mhm.
It's not okay to not ask for help or not talk to someone about it. Everybody's going through their thing. I teach suicide awareness to the community, QPR, and that's one of the biggest lessons. It's okay to not be okay.
Mhm.
But let's get through it together. There's tools, there's resources, um, and there's just having this connection can bring so much hope to somebody's day, and that can make all the difference.
And it's really that possibility, hope that
Hmm.
keeps people going. And that's what great leaders in healthcare, some of my greatest mentors, Christina, you is a great connection and someone I really admire and am inspired by. That possibility, hope keeps you going to the next day and the next day and the next day. So
And of
thank you so
everything.
much.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. This has just really been so inspirational and so helpful for me personally. And I feel so honored that you chose to share your story with me and with us here, your audience. Thank you.
Thank you for your story. And I look forward to having you back on the shift. And maybe we can do some exciting work and have, a 5 or 15 person webinar for 2 hours and have like a virtual healing session, if you will, or a hope session. We can come up with we can do a hope tour. But thank you again for everything. And I say this at the end of every episode, Shifties, your shift makes the difference. Keep shifting. Enjoying the shift? Help us reach more nurse leaders by rating and reviewing us on your podcast app. It takes just a minute, but makes a big impact. Search for The Shift, tap those stars, and share what you love. Your feedback shapes our future episodes and helps others discover us. Remember, rate, review, and amplify The Shift today.